Hey everyone, and welcome to Shmindle Shmumlimited, the podcast for reviews, rants, and ramblings about books from our favorite way to get books, the Kindle Unlimited universe. I'm one of your hosts, Amity.
And I'm Lauren.
And I'm Steph, and this week we read The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther, which was a quick and fun read for me.
I really enjoyed it.
So before we get started with the book, how has your week been? Are you guys reading any good books or watching any new shows?
I have two things. So if you want to fry your brain with mindless, ridiculous reality TV, we started watching, it's called what's it called? So it's on Peacock, and there's 5 famous soccer players from Europe that don't tell the 25 girls in the house they're famous soccer players. And it's just fun. So trash. And then on a side note, I started reading a book called The Divine and Curse. It's really good. It's like fantasy.
Okay.
But it's very good.
Oh, nice.
Only half.
I just moved.
Yes, we're joining you through Zoom.
Yeah, this is our first remote-ish podcast coming together. 2/3 of the team is together, and I'm up here in North Carolina. So I've been doing a lot of that. I not surprisingly, because it was good, but I flew through this week's podcast book, so I had time to start something else. So I've been reading He's Not My Type by Meghan Quinn.
Okay.
And I enjoy Meghan Quinn's books, and so I'm enjoying this book as well. It's, I think, hockey, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think I read that one. I've read so many of her books that hers. She has some really good ones, and I think they're all in Kindle Unlimited. Yeah, I think we're reading one later this summer. I have not been reading anything new, but I did finish Bridgerton.
I have to start, or I started. I'm like 20 minutes into the final episode of this season.
Okay, yeah, I finished the season. I didn't realize that this one had a different director than the other two.
Oh, I didn't really either.
I can't remember if it's the director or the producer. They were different. Somebody was, and I was wondering because this is very different than the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So, and I think they veered away a little bit from the books, but I guess they got the author's opinion or the acceptance. And so I think they became a little bit more creative with this season.
It's definitely really creative. Like at this point, I don't know, because they're covering Francesca, but I wasn't a part of I haven't read her book at all. She's way down in the alphabet.
Yeah, they're hitting 2 siblings at once.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get into The Summer of Broken Rules.
Yep, let's get into it.
All right, this story is from one point of view, and it's just Meredith. And this is her summer before her freshman year of college. And her and her family are going to Martha's Vineyard, a lot of M names over there, for a family wedding. Unfortunately, her sister had passed away a year or 2 before, and they would spend every summer in Martha's Vineyard, but they didn't go last summer because of her sister's passing. So they're going back because their grandparents have a compound.
A massive 200-acre compound on Martha's Vineyard.
Which her cousin Sarah is getting married at. So it's the first time they're back there since the incident.
It also sounds like it was the first time they were seeing really
everybody,
the cousins, the families, since potentially the funeral.
Yes. Her sister's name was Claire, and they don't really tell us at the beginning how Claire passes.
Yeah.
So we meet Meredith and her ex-boyfriend, who she kind of leaned on during her sister's passing.
Yes.
Is texting her, calling her. He had just broken up with her, obviously, probably because they're about to go be freshmen in college and he kind of wanted to have fun.
Yes.
But he wanted to go to the wedding.
That's not how this works.
To be fair to him, I think he knew what a not great place she was in. I'm sure they'd been together a while. I'm sure he also knew how much like the family avoided this whole place last summer. Like I actually
Yeah.
I did not hate him, I think, the way we were supposed to. I felt to a certain extent that he was trying like to not like I don't want to date you, but I still care about
Care for
you
you.
and
Yeah.
I still want like I want you to be okay and I want you to have somebody with the like because and we haven't gotten into this yet, but she really, like we said, this is kind of the first time she's seeing her cousins and everything and stuff since the accident, and they had all been really close.
Yeah, and she kind of like completely not like doesn't text them, doesn't Snapchat them, doesn't do anything, and
Right, like
just
she shut everybody off. So I didn't
yeah,
hate Ben the way I was supposed to because I really felt like he's like, I would be there with you, like say the word and I'll be right there. Like one, 'cause
yeah.
that island sounds like super fun, but also because I think like he wanted to make sure she was okay. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't hate him the way I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Have either of you been to Martha's Vineyard?
No,
No,
I've
but I
been
really want
to
to
an
go now.
island up there.
What was that, Amity?
I really want to go now.
Yeah,
It's
I know,
it's
seriously.
beautiful. I went once for like a day trip and we happened to see Obama golfing with Steph Curry.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes, and multiple Secret Service were like hiding in the bushes. This was while he was president. It
It's
was
No.
so interesting because the way this book describes Martha's Vineyard makes it sound much more like hillbilly is not the right word, but this
No.
felt
No,
no.
very
small town.
farm. Yeah, this felt
It's
very
very
farm-ish,
small. It's
small
a
town.
small island. It's
And
not that big.
I
I
kept
don't
having to check back, like, this is Martha's Vineyard, right? Like,
Yeah, she should have
someone
had it
else's
at a random
vineyard.
island.
Yeah,
No,
it just
growing
sounded so much more
up,
quaint, is I guess the
yes.
yeah.
So growing up, we didn't go because I grew up in New York City. So we would go to Shelter Island, which this is
Oh.
book actually reminded me a lot about because also we had to take a ship where you would drive your car over to Shelter Island. And nobody's ever heard of it. It's like a smaller type of island. So that's what I was picturing more in my head.
Got it.
Anyway, so she's in her car because to get to the island, you have to take a boat that you can drive your car onto. And Ben calls her about the wedding and everything, and it says that he can go if she wants him to be there. And she's like all upset. She's crying. She's like, no, I don't want to go. And she crawls out of the top of her car and on her way down, kind of like lands on a
I don't know.
person.
We don't know if it was a kick or an elbow or a she WWE'd him.
Yes.
Yeah, she lands hard
Yeah.
right on top of him.
So they arrive at the family farm, and Sarah's is her cousin, and she's marrying Michael. And they don't give us that much information about Sarah.
Hardly any. We just know she's the bride.
She's the
much.
bride,
and
yeah.
she was,
And she
close
looks
to
just
Claire.
like Claire.
And she looks
Yes.
just like Claire, Meredith's sister. And it was funny because while I was reading this book, I pictured Sarah so much older.
What I mean, she was out of
pictured
college.
Meredith
I feel like
older
Yeah.
than she was. Like I kept having to remind myself, oh yeah, she just graduated high school.
Yeah. And Claire was a year older than Meredith.
yes.
So
And then Sarah was, I think, at least a couple of years older than Claire.
yeah. And
Was
so
she just 1 year older or two? Claire.
Claire was 2 years older than Meredith.
Oh, she was 2 years? I thought she was
I
one
think
year.
she was 2 years.
I also thought she was 2 years. I just that to me explained how she was able to be in college when she died, and then
Yes.
Meredith still
Yeah,
had
so
her
then
senior year to finish.
Makes sense. So they arrive at the family farm, and everybody's staying on this compound. So it must be ginormous because it has all these houses that have different names and cabins, and
And tents.
none of them have bathrooms.
Yeah.
They all have outhouses.
No, they all had bathrooms except theirs was the only one with an outhouse. They were the
Okay.
only one with an outhouse.
Okay, theirs has an outhouse.
They all have outdoor showers, which is like a huge thing on Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard.
Okay. So they arrive there, and Sarah and Michael announced that they're going to, this is a yearly tradition, and they're bringing it back for the wedding. They're going to play a huge game of Assassins with everybody from the wedding, except Sarah and Michael, and then the grandparents.
The grandparents
are the judges.
Mhm.
There's 3 rules for Assassins. It can't interfere with the wedding.
No,
Yeah.
of course.
2, all assassins must be assassinated outside.
It has to be outside 10 feet from a door.
With water guns.
Yes.
And then it has to be 10 feet from a door entrance. Now, Assassins is a game where each person gets a victim.
Yeah.
And they have to, when I played it, you had to hit somebody with a sock. But in this game, they have to hit them with a water gun. Also,
it sounds like so much fun.
It does.
Yeah. And Claire is the queen of assassins. So they're kind of playing it in memory of her. And so Meredith decides that she wants to win because in memory of her sister, and she has a closet full of different types of water guns.
Just a shed with all of them.
Meredith then runs into the guy with the giant bruise on his face.
Suspicious.
And recognizes him as the guy that she landed on.
Does she recognize him?
But yes.
Well, I thought he called her out on it.
He did.
He did. She was hoping he wasn't see her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he like straight up says
he just calls her out.
Yes. Michael introduces him as his stepbrother. It's Michael, the groom's stepbrother, and he's in the groom's party. He's a groomsman. And he doesn't say anything until they're talking a little bit later. And Whit's like, I know you were the one who did this to my face.
Yeah.
So they all him and Meredith are just chatting. I don't know. I picture them chatting
like in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
They're just out and about.
And they decide to make a pact and they don't even know each other, but they just decide to make a pact that they are going to be a team.
Yeah.
And work together.
So Meredith and Whit, they have like a pact together where if either of them get each other, then they'll tell. And if they hear of anyone else getting their name, they'll also tell.
And they'll help each other.
Yes. But then Meredith also has an alliance with her cousins. So she's got two teams she's playing for.
And the reason she has that alliance with her cousins is because she's completely alienated them the past 2 years. So she kind of feels bad.
Yeah. And I thought it was really smart of her. Like the alliance with Whit was good because he knew the groom side and she knew the bride side. So as they got names that were like, who's Kyle Schmile? They'd be like, oh, he's the groom so-and-so, and could meet up that way. And she felt,
they kind of help each other.
Yeah, and she felt like forming an alliance like that would be like it was like WWCD, like what would Claire do? She kept playing with herself the whole time, which I thought was really sweet that her sister was providing her with that like emotional support of stepping outside of her shell.
But you know what's funny to me is they make this pact that they don't exchange numbers. So like throughout the book, they message through Instagram.
I know.
Yeah.
They like DM each other.
Maybe we're old. So Maybe that's
Meredith's
like
first name
assassin
is her Aunt Rachel, who is pregnant.
Heavily pregnant.
Who's heavily pregnant and who meditates every morning. Outside.
And Claire would go meditate with her.
And Claire goes after she assassines her. So she eliminates her pregnant aunt and then goes and meditates with her. And she of course tells Whit about it, and they have this like friendly banter. They call each other some pet names, but she does not like to be called pretty.
No.
Or babe or baby.
Which I understand. I'm not the biggest babe or baby fan.
No, same.
And that was because her ex only referred to her by her looks, never her personality
and she like tells him like, don't call me pretty. So she goes tubing with her cousins and kind of has a little bit of a little meltdown because the point of tubing is to get the other person off, and she gets thrown off, and we kind of find out that Claire was in some sort of accident because she has a breakdown when she lands. And then she gets to explore Martha's Vineyard with Whit and shows him Morning Glory for pie.
Does pie sound amazing?
No.
It sounds like one of those cute little farmers markets, but they had everything. And it almost reminds me of the cider mills in Michigan.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Or like it's these small little bakeries.
Yes.
So Whit goes on this.
Whit is awesome.
Yeah. He goes
I really liked him.
Yes.
He hits one bridesmaid, then he hits Kate at a cookout, and they have to do this whole
but
measurement
that
thing.
cookout assassination is just epic. So he gets on the roof,
Yes.
so climbing through a window, which Meredith opened.
Yeah.
And he then like water guns her at the cookout, and then they have to get a measuring tape out to ensure that it was more than 10 feet from the door, which it was.
It was like 10 and a quarter.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't go back through the window. He like shimmies down a drain pipe, and here's wet.
So we've also learned how Anne was hit by a drunk driver, and Sarah was with her. Because this book is a lot of Meredith's point of view, she kind of blames Sarah. Like she's
a little resentment.
Yeah, she has a little resentment towards
Well, Sarah was the reason she was out that night at all.
Yes.
But like they were all at college together. Like they were gonna have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Claire was looking at going to Tulane.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Meredith hits off Daniel.
From popping out the top of a Jeep, and
luckily she didn't hit anyone this time.
Right.
And then she starts this thing where she starts sleeping in Whit's bed.
Just because they're talking and falling asleep multiple nights.
And her bed in her cabin is a bunk bed where her sister would sleep underneath. So she wasn't sleeping there well anyways. So Whit's bed is softer, I guess.
Yeah. Warmer with more company.
Makes sense. You're 18. Yeah. What else are you gonna do?
She just sneaks out. Her parents.
If you were 18 and like in that situation, how would your parents react?
I don't know.
So we're both the oldest.
18. Yes.
So like my parents would be like, heck no, because I have 3 younger siblings. Like when I was 18, my youngest sibling was 9.
Yeah.
So like I don't know what it would be like to be the youngest. So like, yeah, have fun.
Yeah.
Don't do something stupid.
Right.
I usually didn't tell my parents when I was sleeping over. I would be like, I'm sleeping at so-and-so's friend's house.
I don't know what my parents would do.
When they're right there?
Yeah, if I was 18, my mom would be like, no, what are you doing?
Well, but maybe. Also like they're with all the cousins and everything too.
Yeah.
Like they don't know for a while that she's
not,
with
like, sleeping
the groom's stepbrother. Right.
Yeah.
And then also like she's been through a lot and they see kind of the personality shift, the excitement, the smiles, the laughs and stuff that she gets at that point. And so maybe they're like, hey, I guess whatever's making you happy.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know. I think family event, I think my parents would say something. I don't know.
Your father?
Oh, my dad would definitely say something. My dad would actually, you know what my dad would do? He wouldn't say anything to me. It would be like a family event and everybody would be around. And they'd be like, Steph, I saw your bed is still made from the other day. Why is that? And then he would wink at the person like who like as bed I'm sleeping in.
I could see that happen.
That's what would happen.
Oh, that's
so funny.
Yeah. So we continue with the assassin games and we meet Meredith's cousin Lulu.
Lily. Don't know if that's short.
Yeah.
Anything.
So Meredith is trying to like apologize for the past 2 years for not, or the past year, for not year and a half, for not responding. And she just like won't accept it.
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent, like some of these storylines kept reminding me like, oh yeah, they're kids.
Yes,
children.
Yeah.
Like as an adult, like, yeah, you were going through something, like no big deal. Like what that book we read, Love Redesigned?
Yes.
When again we were like, they were 18, there was a death, it was an important person to them, like just communicate, there's no need to be mad. This was like that same thing again.
I think the author did a very good job of like keeping what they did, how they thought at like an 18-year-old level.
Yes.
I'm like, oh wait, they're 18. It was very consistent.
Yes.
I didn't think that, oh, they're gonna go be millionaires tomorrow.
No.
This wasn't a billionaire romance.
No. So Whit and Meredith are still hanging out. And you know what's funny about this story, which I've never read a book? They include Instagram and social media. And also she's like a big Taylor Swift fan, which I am. But yeah, I thought that was cute. The whole Instagram, the DMing, the hashtags.
Yes.
Because usually books and series don't usually include that.
I love so the wedding hashtag was hooray, she's a Dupree. And then Whit came up with their own as like, just to kind of make fun of it, is hitch me to Whitry, because his last name is Whitry, and that's how he gets
a little bit forward but adorable.
Yes. Yes.
But also at 18, I think that's like, or he's 19.
Yeah, he's a year older
than she is. So, and they're still playing assassins. So Meredith is able to eliminate Whit's dad, and
I love that scene where she eliminated his dad.
Yes.
That was cute.
And she eliminates this girl who's on the phone.
Oh my gosh, the terrible friend of Sarah.
Who like doesn't even seem like she wants to be there.
She was like, get me out of this wedding. It's terrible. And then wouldn't give Meredith her next victim.
Yeah, she would like refuse to.
I guess to be fair to that friend, if I heard I was going to Martha's Vineyard, I probably would have packed completely differently than I would have needed for this farm.
True.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like all my Lily Pulitzer dresses would have been such a waste.
Soaked from the game.
Yeah.
So Meredith and Whit are hanging out. They're sleeping in the same bed. She takes him in to tour the town. He drives her Jeep, or her dad's Jeep.
That is Grandpa's Jeep.
Grandpa's Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
And
Grandpa Wink?
Yes. Yeah, Wink. Honey and
Wink. He likes to wink.
Yes.
Meredith finds out that Whit was at school, or was going to school, and didn't like it. And so he's decided to take a year off and go to New Zealand.
Which, sign me up.
You know what? I take it back. They've got 200 acres on Martha's Vineyard. They can just take a year off and go explore New Zealand. I think this might be a billionaire romance. Like,
I mean, the dad's got a Raptor. That's not a cheap truck.
Right.
Hey.
Yeah.
We're figuring things out
here. He's just gonna
this
go
is not the top
New
1%.
Zealand.
This is the top 2%.
Yeah.
New Zealand's not cheap.
No. And it's so random too. Like I understand, like I hear Europe, people take a year off to go to Europe, but New Zealand and Australia.
New Zealand's the only country without snakes.
Oh,
just FYI.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I completely understand.
So Meredith goes grocery shopping with her aunt, and then Whit eliminates like 8 people.
8 out of the 10 he had already eliminated while she's gone for 2.5 hours shopping.
He was just
for
like,
groceries.
One being her dad coming out of the outhouse.
Oh my God.
That's right.
Yes. And she had to pick her dad up a tub of frosting, because that was how he got over his defeat.
Yeah. They get so aggressive about this.
Her dad. I love frosting. I will eat it straight from the can.
It was very specific. It was
confetti?
Yes, confetti.
But yeah, they get very aggressive about this assassin. Like nobody talks after you get assassinated. You just like
absolutely hilarious.
So Meredith and Whit go to dinner, and he posts a picture of her
licking butter off his face from eating lobster, which as good as butter tastes, I'm not sure I'd lick it off someone's face.
Right? And then Meredith gets her new target.
Finally, she had to get Grandpa Wink involved because Mean Girl wouldn't give the target to her, and it is Whit.
Well, they don't tell you it's Whit right away. You kind of just assume.
Kind of inferred.
Yeah. So she goes to sleep with Whit, and they don't just sleep.
No, they don't. But she sneaks out of her cabin in the middle of the night and then just like walks into his room, and he's like, I knew you'd come. Pun intended. So too far.
Yeah. That took me a second. I don't know if it was the distance or if I'm just tired, but I got there. And that was good.
Yeah. So they go hiking and he's like keeps asking her who it is, and she lies and says it's her cousin, Luli.
Mm-hmm.
They go to gumbo night. He gets invited to gumbo night. And then Luli gets mad at her and is like, "You're hanging out too much with Wit. I saw the Instagram."
Yeah.
And it's just like you did before, where you ditched us for your boyfriend.
Yes.
She said truth, but harsh.
Yes.
And Meredith wasn't, I don't think, in a mental state where she could handle that much truth.
No.
So this is where things start to not go well for poor Meredith. They start feeling really bad. So she fights with Luli, then she's going through Wit's Instagram and finds a video of her sister.
She goes through
Sarah's Instagram.
And it's like a video the night her sister died.
Yes, and she sees that her sister was with
Wit.
And so it was strange to Meredith because Claire had always said that she would marry a guy named Steven. Now, I thought this was to reference a Taylor Swift song because there's a song called Hey Steven.
Oh.
So I didn't know if it was.
Tasha has a song named Steven too.
Oh, there you go. But that night, Claire had texted Meredith, the fates have finally aligned. And Meredith had mentioned that Claire never liked Ben.
Yeah.
So we don't know and she never found out what that meant.
I don't know if I was reading this part too fast or I felt to a certain extent almost like part of Meredith's moral dilemma with this was that she had thought that maybe Claire had a thing for Wit.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought too.
And like that when she said she'd marry someone named Steven, that Claire would marry someone named Steven, and now she's met a great guy named Steven.
So
and
Claire
I had to really slow down. Yes, no, like I got there, but I had to slow down. Like, whoa, there's a lot happening here.
Well,
Everybody's mad at each other.
When did we learn what Wit's name
was? This was the part because they never told us what was on the slip of paper.
Oh.
So Meredith gets eliminated by her Uncle Brad, who's very competitive in this.
While she's confronting Wit about this.
Oh, yes. And then she just turns to Wit and tells him to run because she knows that the piece of paper says Steven.
Witchery.
Which is his name.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when she thinks about like the text message her sister said to her.
It took him a while to figure out like why she was telling him to run. Because then she had to show him the cards, like very sly, before she gave it to her uncle.
Yeah. So
and then he was extra pissed for what feels like no reason.
Yes. So poor Meredith had this Claire with Wit. Luli won't talk to her, and she gets assassinated in Assassins, the game she wants to win for her sister.
She's having a rough day.
So she falls asleep on a raft.
This felt so unsafe.
Just full lobster.
In the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, that is true. It's not an ocean.
True. So it's on a pond, lake thing.
Lake, yeah. And Wit wakes her up and is like, why did you lie to me and tell me you
didn't have me for assassin?
So they have this. They kind of like stop talking to each other and they go to the rehearsal dinner, and then it's like awkward between them, but they do a poem together.
Which was really cute.
It was really cute. I was surprised by that this was a Meredith point of view about a lot of time that she spent with Wit, and we never heard that they were writing a toast together until they were giving the toast together.
Yeah.
I felt like it could have easily and then she could have easily told Luli yeah, I just met this guy, but we're writing a toast together and we're making it a poem. Like, oh, okay, that explains why you're spending so much time together. Also, it was short though.
Yeah. That could have, and the other thing too is they didn't practice the poem. Like, who wrote this poem?
Right.
It just magically came.
It was ChatGPT.
So they go for a walk and he tells her to come to New Zealand, which I feel like every 19-year-old guy would say to this girl that he's met for 3 days.
What else are you going to do?
And they decide, she's like, no, I'm going to go to college. I need to stay home because she's going to college at home.
I really, for a second there, I thought she was going to do New Zealand for like a hot minute.
When you're reading her point of view, she keeps asking herself, like, why isn't he talking about New Zealand or like asking me to go? And so you think that, and they got together so quickly.
Yeah. And then she had lots of inner dialogue, like, do I want to go to college?
Yes.
Right. And her grandpa's support, which I thought was really sweet.
So they decide that they're going on their separate ways, but they're going to pretend for the wedding. They're going to have like one pretend day and then like leave and just be okay.
Just heartbreaking. So
then we get to the wedding and she keeps questioning if like she's ready for college. They have a great wedding. She wakes up the next morning and she's saying goodbye to all her cousins and family. Her and Luli are good. And they're like, hey, what have you said bye to Whit? And she's like, yeah, we went our separate ways. We had a fun time last night and then just like called it.
And then she way overreacted because she's 18 and she deleted his phone number.
Idiot.
Yeah. I think it's because she wanted nothing. She was like, done.
Just not smart. But also she could have texted like or Sarah or Michael or someone to get his phone number.
Yeah, after their wedding. Maybe they were busy.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's true.
True.
No, it's more like it's better if she's like running to the boat, trying to catch it.
That makes a good movie.
Yes, exactly.
It does.
You got to think of the bigger picture here. So they get together at the boat, and then it goes to a year later, which we're all wondering, like,
did she go to New Zealand? What happened?
And she did not go to New Zealand. She ended up going to college, and they dated long distance, but she didn't visit him in New Zealand.
She did for like 2 weeks for
spring break or something. Yeah. He's working at Morning Glory, the pie place. They're back at Martha's Vineyard. And he's going to University of Vermont, which is a little closer than New Zealand.
Just slightly.
And she now calls him Steven.
The only person that
She's
calls
the only, yep. And they have changed the winner of, I forgot to mention this. He wins Assassins.
He does. He wins. It was like an epic battle between 4 people. He's like climbing trees.
I just like picture Hunger Games happening.
Yes. He used water balloons at one point in time, which she picked up at the store for him while he killed 8 other people.
Yeah. So they decide the winner of Assassins gets a cup, and it's called the Claire Fox Cup. Sarah and Michael have a daughter named Claire, and Whit and Meredith are godparents.
I love when he referred to Meredith as his bride. He's like, well, we're godparents. It's the same thing, right?
Well, they've been hashtagging Hitch Me to Witchery for...
Yeah. The grandmother's like, that's not how this works.
So, and that's the end of the book. Before we go into favorite characters, I want to know your thoughts on the fact that they didn't have her go to New Zealand.
I loved it so much.
I did too. Because she still maintained like her own person.
Were you expecting her not to go?
No, I fully expected her to go. I expected that they would go to New Zealand. I kept having to remind myself that they were 18 because they were going to just like go to New Zealand and elope and just like happily ever after from there. And I kept being so excited that they were having the opportunity to mature as individuals while choosing to date. Like I was so happy for that for them.
Yes, I liked it because she had a hard time finding the balance between significant other, friends, family, and I think it gave her a chance to still, have a relationship with him, but then kind of find herself again after her sister's death, going to college.
My only thing, I wish she had gone to a different college, that she didn't stay in her hometown.
Yeah.
That was
I kind of liked it because that was her initial plan. I liked that she stuck with that.
Yeah. But she wasn't like a fan of it.
She, at the end though, she said like she needed to be close to her parents. It's not that she needed them.
That's true.
So, and she could go home for dinner. Like her parents invited roommates and friends to like come eat dinner. So I think it was good to she had that support, but then also able to go
somewhere
to school.
So. And it's not like she never traveled. Like she did visit him in New Zealand. Like she's not afraid to leave the same town as her parents or whatever. So that was good.
Okay, favorite characters.
Wit. And maybe the grandparents.
Oh yeah, I didn't like the grandparents.
I was gonna say the grandparents. Yeah, I liked all the characters.
Yeah, me too. I didn't have a favorite.
Yeah, it was hard to pick a favorite because I really appreciated. I feel like we keep saying this over and over again, but that they all acted their ages, and I appreciated that. It made them harder to relate to.
Yes.
Because like I'm not 18 anymore, but I could appreciate their 18-year-old rationale for things.
I would love to be a member of that family.
Yes.
They sounded like so much fun.
Yeah. And all the different events, like they had a gumbo night, they had all these different fun events. So themes and tropes. So we had, this was a young adult romance, our first young adult romance.
Yeah, and it stayed true to YA as well. Like I would feel totally comfortable with like a high schooler reading this.
Yes, yeah. So it's funny because as I'm reading this, I'm watching Geek Girl on Netflix.
It's so cute.
Which I kind of found they weren't similar, but they were both like YA. It's I felt like I was in the YA universe.
Nice.
So
not YA, but this book and storyline reminded me a lot of a book that we've read a long time ago called Worth It by S.M. Shade and C.M. Owens, which was another like collegiate friends age where they all kind of are at somebody's just like gigantic house at a beach island type thing for a family wedding and shenanigans ensue. But that one was not YA.
no,
but it reminded me of that. I found I liked this book. This book was more serious. Like that other book, I remember laughing out loud reading just at the ridiculousness of so much. This book felt realistic isn't the exact right word because this like weird billionaire farm on Martha's Vineyard is like not the most realistic setting, but
it was realistic in the young adult romance area.
Yes, and the feelings and stuff all felt pretty realistic.
Yeah.
So, have you guys ever played Assassins?
I had never heard of it.
Oh, I played in college.
I've never played, but now I want to. We need to plan a giant trip with a zillion people and play.
But yeah, on a compound. Yeah, so we played in college I was part of a group called University Program Board. I think there was like 50 or 60 of us, except instead of hitting people with water guns, we had to hit people with socks.
Does that mean you could play inside?
Yes. Okay. It was like a rolled up sock and you had to hit them. It got, super competitive. I played twice. The first time I was really, but you become very paranoid very quickly.
I'm sure.
The second time I was hit at the gym, I was leaving
So how many days was this?
Until there's like one person left.
So how long did like your game?
It lasts like a month.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because we had an office, so you couldn't. There was like you couldn't hit anybody in the office, but everywhere else was free game. Like so that I was doing a kickboxing class and I left a kickboxing class and just like somebody hits me in the back with a sock.
So you have stalkers for a month.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh, I love it. So I need to know what other Taylor Swift references were there, Steph?
So she's constantly listening to Taylor Swift.
Yes.
And there were a lot of her songs, like she would talk about a song often. And then I thought the Steven, because it was the Hey Steven reference. But overall impression out of 10.
I want to rank it a little higher than some of the other books.
I was thinking an 8.
Oh.
I was also thinking an 8.
Okay, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Oh.
I really, really
like this. That's really good for stuff.
Yeah,
so 8.33?
I read this really quick. So I think our average would be 8.25.
Yes, because we can math well.
Because we can.
I would have, like, for me to get higher, because I didn't relate specifically to these characters. Like, it was a fun story, but I wasn't involved in it, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
This would make a great movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
coming back, I agree with it's hard for me to relate to like high school and college books now.
But it was a nice, like, mindless read.
Yeah.
This is a great book. If you
I flew through it.
Yeah. If you're going to a lake, if you're going to a beach, you're going on vacation, the Bahamas, you just need something to take your mind off something.
Yes.
And because you're not relating to it, it's not like a book that's going to bring up feelings.
Yes.
I guess unless you're like, oh, remember when I lost my sibling when I was in high school?
Yeah.
Like that. But like if you don't have, like if the plot is not triggering to you in general, then it's a good just like, that was a great story.
Yeah.
It would make a really good movie. Who do we need to call?
Yeah.
All right. So what are we reading next?
We are going to be reading Gold Winning, an Olympic romance because of the Olympics that are coming out.
Paris 2024. I'm so excited.
Yep. Mayor Montagu.
Maybe it's French, like the Olympics.
Oh, yes.
Shouldn't you be perfect at
pronouncing those last names? From the cover of it does look like she's a gymnast.
Probably should go.
Like, I think a rhythmic gymnast potentially because of the ribbon and the ball thing in her hands. But we'll find out when we read it. All right, so join us next time for Gold Winning an Olympic Romance. Thanks for listening to our reviews, rants, and ramblings. Remember, if you also read this book and review it on Amazon or Goodreads, please include that Shmindle Shmumlimited sent you. And if you wouldn't mind a quick review on your podcast platform, we would be forever grateful. Have a great week or two, and we can't wait to read, review, rant, and ramble about the next book with you. Bye!